So I am a mechanical keyboard fanatic. And it all started because I've been in IT for over 20 years now. For the longest time, I used a standard keyboard. And after a few years of using a keyboard, using it daily, day in and day out, I started having issues with my RSI and getting carpal tunnel and things. So I want to be very careful about my health, especially when it comes to, typing and things. So for the longest time, I switched to what was my absolute favorite keyboard and a keyboard I still like today, the Microsoft Ergo. Now, the Microsoft Ergo is a good keyboard because it is ergonomic and there's like no learning curve because it's a standard keyboard, even though it's split. Now, when I first started it, I hated it. But once I tried it, I found this is very comfortable. And so I used a Microsoft Ergo for many years. I've actually went through several of them. But a couple years ago now, a little over a year ago actually, Microsoft announced that they were getting rid of their peripheral business and selling it off. And I thought, great, my favorite keyboard is going by the wayside. I know there's other brands out there. There's Logitech and others. I've tried some of those. They were not as comfortable as the Microsoft one. And I tell you what, I was a big fan of Microsoft peripherals because of how well they worked. I still have an old Microsoft joystick from forever ago and other things. They're built pretty well. And I loved my Ergo keyboards. The thing I didn't like about it is how massive it was. But it was nice because I had this little center scroll wheel and I had these shortcuts that I could easily use and stuff. So it made me more productive in my work. But when Microsoft announced that they were selling that business, I knew, okay, I need to find something else. And that led me to a long journey. That journey was me trying different keyboards and seeing what was out there. Well, again, I didn't find anything that I liked. But then I came across something new. There are open source and corporatized split ergonomic keyboards. And that's when I started learning about this huge community that I'm now glad I'm part of, and led me even to starting my own business of turkey boards. I just do it on the side. I do it for fun because to me, it's a blast building these things and sharing it with others. But I want to show you today my journey, what I started with, in hopes that it helps you with your journey. So let's go to my desk and we'll take a look at a few of these different keyboards. So what we're looking at here is my very first keyboard. A keyboard I still use on occasion, a keyboard I love, and that got me started. This is the ZSA or ZSA, depends on where you're at in the world, Voyager. And if you're looking for a good, comfortable keyboard, I cannot encourage you enough to give this one a hard look. This is a fantastic keyboard. It's very comfortable to use, and I love the mounting options that it has. One thing you'll find, it's very thin. Now, the reason I went with this is because I wanted something portable. I was looking at different ones, including their other major product, which was the Moonlander. Now, this one I got secondhand off of eBay. That's a great way to get these. If you're trying them out, you can get them off of eBay secondhand for much less than buying them brand new. I bought this one brand new, but this one I bought used off of eBay. And I found very quickly, I love low profile. I find this very comfortable. I also liked how it has the linear column staggered layout. Now, if we compare these keyboards to my old Microsoft Ergo, you'll see there's a big difference. Now, this is your standard staggered style keyboard, just tilted and canted. That way it's more ergonomic, so you're coming at it instead of This, you're coming at it like this. And this makes this keyboard much more comfortable than your standard keyboard out there. But it's still not, and not talking bad about this, I'm just saying, for me, this is still not a good keyboard. Now that I've tried these fully customizable open source ones. And the reason why I'm such a big fan of these. Now, I started off, like I said, with the low profile because I wanted something light to the touch, easily portable, something I could throw in my pack and not get tore up and not worry about. And this is a fantastic board. I've recently, since then, and I've only been using really low profile. I did pick up this Moonlander. But one thing I found with the Moonlander, and this is what I expected when I was switching to an MX, I can't use this keyboard for very long without my RSI acting up. Whereas I can use a low profile keyboard because it's lighter to the touch, there's less travel, there's less pressure needed, there's less travel on the switches in comparison, and they're quieter. For all these reasons, I am a huge fan of low profile keyboards. Now, since moving on to the Voyager, I found out there are open source keyboards, and that led me to coming across this guy. Now, this is a low profile keyboard. I purchased this from holykeybs, holykeybs.com. This is their low profile MX spaced Korn keyboard. And what you'll find here is that it's stacked. So by stacked, it means instead of having a complete case around it like the Voyager does, where it's fully enclosed with a plastic case or plastic sleeve, this has a plexiglass or acrylic bottom. Then you have the circuit board. Then on top of that, you have a key plate to just cover the board. And then for the microcontroller and things, you have this acrylic topper. And for most open source keyboards, this is how they are. You have a microcontroller here that instead of it being soldered directly into the board, it's on headers. And then you have your reset button, switch, and your TRS cable. Now, the neat thing about these is both of these run the exact same software. They're running something called QMK, which is an extremely powerful and flexible software. So after building a couple of these, I always had fun soldering kits together. And so I ended up getting a couple of these, trying different things because I loved the fact that I could flash and build my own keyboards. I eventually upgraded to this. Now, this is my personal daily driver that I use each day. This is my Korn 4.1. So this one is a Korn version 3. This is the 4.1. The big difference between the two, as you can tell, like the Voyager, instead of it having a separate microcontroller that's soldered onto headers, it's built into the keyboard itself. Matter of fact, the microcontroller sits right down in here. And the USB interface here, and then right in here is your TRS connection. And this is a full light up keyboard, just like my Voyager is. And because of this, this is, I found, more comfortable because the thumb cluster is in a better location for me. Now, again, not talking bad about anything. The Voyager is a fantastic keyboard. I still love it. I still use it. But what I found is this key here on the thumb is comfortable. This key, I feel like I'm stretching for, and I don't like that. The other thing is, I always felt like the Voyager needed a third thumb key, and this is right here is the perfect spot for it. I wish they put one here, but they didn't. I would love the Voyager so much more if it had that third key, but it only has the two, which I feel is kind of limiting. Now, if you're used to keyboards, especially for me that was just starting out, now, if you're used to Ergo keyboards, that's not a big deal. Just two thumb switches is probably more than enough. But what I personally found, and my favorite still, and what I use every day, is my Korn. I love how it's very thin. I added, these are actually laptop stands, so I can tilt my keyboard, it makes it more comfortable to type on. The Voyager does have its own stands, and there are these little magnetic bits that you put on, which I love this. I love how it has a metal plate on the bottom with these, and it tilts it a little bit, but you'll notice it's not as much of a tilt, but it gives you a little cant. Or what you can do is, like, if you have your laptop sitting here, you can actually tilt them against your laptop, which that I think is kind of nice. And I even do that with my Corn here. But yeah, that was my keyboard journey. I started with the Voyager, tinkering with it. I've been through, God, I've changed this layout hundreds of times until I found something I liked. And we'll have future videos on layouts and things. Then I started building my own keyboards, buying kits, and a big shout out to Aiden over at Holy Keybs. He's based out of Israel. He has some great kits. Highly recommend. He's fantastic service, very good prices, fantastic guy. But with this Corn, that's what started me on a much smaller keyboard. I was scared of this thing at first, I'll be honest. That's why I went with the Voyager. I liked having the number row. But once I got more comfortable, I realized I didn't need all those extra keys, and I could go to something even more ergonomic. And the best part about this is, as you're typing, you only have to stretch a little bit. And you'll find a lot of these keys that you're stretching to, you're not going to use as much. Like on my Corn, I use these two. I hardly ever use my third thumb key. Remember how I was talking about I wish there was a third thumb key? If there was, I'd probably only use these two thumb keys here. Whereas this one is too much of a stretch for me. It's not as comfortable. Whereas on the Corn, I primarily just use these two. So I cannot stress enough, try different keyboards. Find what's most comfortable for you. And before you know it, you may find yourself with your most favorite keyboard that you can easily travel with that helps you with your productivity. And by that, I mean by being able to change layouts and customizing things. Again, we'll have a future video on layouts. It allows you a lot of flexibility on putting in shortcuts and things to make it easier to type. And before you know it, you'll get rid of your RSI and it'll be a lot more comfortable. So I encourage you to try different keyboards, see what works for you. I hope you enjoyed going through my journey of trying to find ergonomic keyboards that were comfortable for me. Hopefully this helps you when deciding what kind of keyboard you want. Please take some time. Tell me what your favorite keyboard is. If you have questions on what kind of keyboard you should get starting out, things like that, by all means, reach out. I'm happy to chat. You'll find us here on YouTube, Reddit, you've got a Discord channel. So please join the community. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.